It's not by chance that you're viewing this video. There's a reason you're here. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust the timing of your life and know that you're being led to where you're meant to be. As you stumble on this video, perhaps not by chance, it will serve to awaken your spirit. Today, God is unveiling a deeper truth. Perhaps you once believed that your pain was merely random, that your battles were simply unfair, and that your seasons of isolation were just an ordinary part of life. However, the reality is far more profound. These experiences are not coincidental or without meaning. They are deeply spiritual in nature. You have been under spiritual attack not because you are weak or insignificant, but precisely because you are a threat to the forces of darkness. The very moment you awaken to your true identity and embrace the purpose God has placed within you, a war was ignited in the unseen spiritual realm. This battle did not begin when you started praying consistently, nor did it commence when you began sharing inspirational messages or words of faith. Instead, it began the moment you experienced a divine shift in your spirit, when you came into alignment with God's will, and when you wholeheartedly said yes to Him, fully meaning it with all that you are. Before we delve any deeper into this revelation, let us take a moment to understand that this message is far more than mere content or casual encouragement. It is a divine signal, a spiritual alert specifically intended for those who are chosen and spiritually attuned. If your soul resonates with what is being spoken, it is not by accident, but by divine design. Before proceeding, if your spirit senses the weight of this message, if you feel a divine frequency stirring within you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. This is not about algorithms or attention. It is about agreement and alignment. When you engage, you are prophetically declaring, I hear and I receive. If this word resonates deeply with your spirit, I invite you to drop the number 77 in the comments right now. This is not a random or arbitrary number. It is a prophetic signal. It is a sacred confirmation that your spirit is not only awake, but fully aligned with God's timing and wholly aware of the spiritual battle you have awakened in the unseen realm by your obedience and your yes to the call. It is important to understand this. Not everyone who begins this message will make it to the end. Only those who are truly chosen, genuinely called, and divinely marked by God will possess the spiritual endurance to carry the weight of what is being revealed. However, for those who do persevere, there awaits a profound reward. Divine clarity will be granted, a heightened sense of spiritual warfare will be activated, and hidden keys, long reserved for this next level of spiritual authority, will be unlocked and entrusted to them. Let it be clear, this is not merely a motivational message intended to inspire or uplift. This is a battle cry, a prophetic declaration. It is a scroll sent from heaven, veiled in the form of a video, carrying heavenly intelligence and instruction for those who have ears to hear. You are encouraged to return to this message whenever you find yourself feeling confused, burdened, or spiritually under siege. Each time you revisit it, your spirit will discern something deeper than before. With every replay, you will receive a fresh impartation, a divine download that will fortify your soul, elevate your spiritual awareness, and strengthen your rank and authority within the spirit realm. Know this with certainty, you did not arrive here by coincidence or accident. Your very obedience, your decision to pursue God wholeheartedly, has initiated something eternal. It has sent ripples through the heavenly realm and marked your life as one set apart for divine purpose. Now let's get into it. Chapter 1, Chosen One. The moment you truly committed your life to God, not merely in words, but through your actions and lifestyle, you triggered a profound reaction in the spiritual realm. From the instant your obedience became genuine, your surrender complete, and your hunger for truth surpassed your desire for comfort, a seismic shift occurred. You did not simply modify your behavior, you initiated a powerful disruption within the very foundations of hell itself. Your transformation shook the kingdom of darkness to its core. It wasn't just a personal change, it was a spiritual revolt. You dismantled a deeply rooted demonic system that had entrenched itself in your family line for generations. In choosing God with sincerity and unwavering faith, you ignited a divine force that broke through long-standing spiritual strongholds. Heaven took notice, and so did hell. Hell had long devised a script for your life, a silent, destructive narrative woven subtly through patterns of fear, trauma, addiction, rejection, lack, emotional silence, and crippling self-doubt. This storyline was not loud or obvious. It was insidious, unfolding quietly across generations. Your ancestors may not have recognized the spiritual battle they were born into. Many may not have even realized they were in a fight at all. But then you awakened. You became aware of the deeper reality, and that awakening sent shockwaves through the kingdom of darkness. It triggered an alarm in hell, not because you merely began attending church or quoting scripture. Such things alone pose little threat. Hell does not tremble at religious routines or superficial expressions of faith. When a person becomes fully awakened, aware of who they truly are, of who God is, and of the spiritual realities that have been unfolding behind the scenes, something extraordinary occurs. You became a code breaker, someone who sees beyond the surface and begins to unravel generational patterns. You became a disruptor of cycles, a divine interruption to a demonic strategy that had operated unchallenged for decades, perhaps even centuries. The enemy had been relying on your silence. He was counting on your weariness. He wagered that if he could break your heart early in life, he could derail your purpose indefinitely. But you did not break. Instead, you bowed, in surrender, not defeat. You did not give up, you leaned in. You pressed forward with faith and tenacity, and it was that very obedience, that deep, costly, quiet yes to God, that shifted realms. It realigned things in the spirit. Your faith activated movement in heaven and caused disruption in hell. You became a turning point in a story the enemy thought he had already written. Chosen one, your life is anything but ordinary. It is not casual, accidental, or without consequence. Your very presence carries spiritual weight, an authority that reaches beyond what the eye can see. Your act of surrender was not a minor gesture. It was a cosmic shift. It reverberated through the heavens and rewrote spiritual blueprints that had been in place for generations. When you laid down your own will and took up the purpose of God, you closed doors your ancestors never had the language, understanding, or spiritual insight to shut. You opened divine portals that had long been obstructed, blocked by generational disobedience, entrenched pride, and unresolved pain. Your surrender became the key that unlocked what had been sealed for ages. At that moment, heaven stood still in reverent awe and hell erupted in chaos. This is the true reason you have faced such fierce and relentless resistance. Not because you are weak and certainly not because you are cursed, but because you are anointed, appointed, and spiritually activated. You carry within your spirit something sacred, something powerful, something so threatening to the structures of darkness that it causes them to tremble. Every demonic force that had been strategically assigned to your bloodline was well aware that if you ever came into true spiritual alignment, if you ever recognized your identity, embraced your authority, and submitted wholly to God's will, their influence and control would be shattered. And now that long-dreaded alignment has finally taken place. You have transitioned from being merely a victim of generational cycles to becoming a direct and undeniable threat to the kingdom of darkness. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are actively rebuilding what was broken. You are not merely surviving the battles. You are dismantling strongholds, reversing curses, and rewriting spiritual history. Your obedience and awakening have forced hell to revise its strategies. You are the reason certain doors, once wide open in your family line, will never be opened again. You are the reason why age-old patterns are now breaking, why spiritual atmospheres are shifting, and why both people and principalities are becoming unsettled, not only in the natural realm, but in the spiritual realm as well. And do not be misled by the silence that surrounds you. Just because those around you did not applaud, affirm, or outwardly recognize the significance of what you have accomplished in the spirit does not mean that heaven remained unaware. God saw it all. He witnessed the nights you wept in secret, yet chose to remain faithful and steadfast in your position. He observed the temptations you resisted when no one else was watching. He counted every unseen battle you fought, those moments when there was no encouragement, no support, and no applause. Because of your unwavering obedience, God has marked you with spiritual authority. You are not insignificant. You are not forgotten. You are not merely trying your best. You are living proof, heaven's evidence on earth, that when even one person fully surrenders to God, entire generational trajectories can be transformed. Make no mistake, the alarm in hell has already been triggered. The war in the spirit has already begun, and you, chosen, refined, and empowered, are right in the center of heaven's plan. Chapter 2. Your yes released angelic activity. Chosen one, understand this. Your yes to God was not merely an earthly decision, it was a profound spiritual activation. Though it may have appeared simple or quiet in the natural realm, it carried immense weight in the heavens. You may not have witnessed the ripple effects with your physical eyes, but the moment you surrendered your will to God's purpose, movement began in the unseen realm. What may have felt like a solitary prayer whispered in the stillness, what appeared to be just a moment of private worship or a quiet, unnoticed act of obedience, was in fact a divine signal, a spiritual broadcast that resonated through the heavens. That surrender authorized angelic activity on your behalf. It released heavenly forces to respond, to protect, to clear the path ahead, and to war on your behalf. Your yes did not go unnoticed in the courts of heaven. It marked the beginning of a supernatural chain reaction, one that continues to unfold beyond your sight, yet fully in alignment with God's eternal design for your life. Heaven does not respond to emotional hype or outward displays of performance. It moves in response to the sound of faith-filled obedience. Every time you prayed, even when exhaustion pressed hard against you, every time you resisted the pull of old cycles that once had a hold on you, every moment you chose spiritual discipline over fleeting desire, something powerful shifted in the unseen realm. Angels were not merely observing your struggle from a distance. They were activated and dispatched on your behalf. Your quiet, consistent obedience triggered heavenly response. Heaven recorded every yes you gave to God, and in return, released divine reinforcement. Now, there are angels walking beside you, fighting battles on your behalf, and preparing the way ahead of you, not because of how loud you shouted or how visible your devotion appeared, but because of how spiritually aligned you have become. Your obedience carried authority. Your surrender was not emotional hype, it was legal in the courts of heaven. It gave heaven jurisdiction to move in your life with power and precision. In the realm of the spirit, obedience is not merely a moral decision, it is a legal transaction. It grants heaven authorized access to intervene in areas the enemy once claimed as his own. Your obedience gave the kingdom of God the legal right to invade and reclaim territories that had long been occupied by darkness. This is precisely why things intensified. This is why, after you said yes to God, you began experiencing warfare, even in your sleep. This is why you started to feel shifts in your atmosphere, a heightened spiritual awareness, and an unexplainable sense of divine movement. It was not your imagination, it was the result of spiritual activation. When you surrendered, you unknowingly initiated a divine chain of events. You activated heaven. You called forth change. You summoned reinforcements from realms unseen, without even fully realizing the magnitude of your obedience. Your yes became a summons in the courts of heaven, a declaration that triggered angelic response. And in that moment, angels began moving in perfect, divine coordination with your surrender, executing heaven's agenda on your behalf. You are no longer walking this path alone. The road ahead of you is being divinely cleared. Spiritual traps, once set to sabotage your progress, are being dismantled. Hidden enemies, both natural and spiritual, are being exposed and neutralized. Yes, the warfare has intensified, but so has the angelic covering that now surrounds your life. And these angels are not casual bystanders or passive companions. They are strategic, powerful, and precisely assigned to you in accordance with the weight of your calling. They were chosen with your purpose in mind. They are equipped for the specific battles that accompany your destiny. They understand the magnitude of your mission, and they are not intimidated by the darkness that surrounds it. These angelic forces do not respond to fleeting emotions or momentary fear. They respond to spiritual alignment. Your obedience, your surrender, your unwavering agreement with God's will, these are the triggers that move them into action. This is why hell fights you so fiercely. It is not random. It is because your alignment with heaven has activated an assignment too powerful for the enemy to ignore. Now, with every single step you take in obedience, heaven expands its reach through your life. You are not merely enduring or surviving difficult seasons. You are actively advancing the kingdom of God. You are treading upon spiritual territory that hell once considered secure and impenetrable. Your fasting shook loose the grip of bondage in places you could not see. Your worship shattered chains in both your life and in the lives of others. Your choice to forgive closed ancient portals of bitterness and generational offense. Even your silence, those quiet, controlled moments when you refused to retaliate in the face of persecution, resounded more powerfully in heaven than any argument or defense ever could. They're attempting to wear you down, but they do so not because you are weak or fatigued, but because they know you are dangerous. Because angels are now operating around you, divine activity surrounds your life at all times. And wherever the light of God moves, it inevitably exposes hidden agendas, unspoken motives, and unseen spiritual opposition. Therefore, do not underestimate or question the effectiveness of your obedience. You may not always feel powerful, but your authority is not based on emotion. It is rooted in alignment. And the entire kingdom of darkness knows that you are no longer walking alone. Your consistent yes to God created divine access. It gave heaven permission to invade territory previously occupied by the enemy. It authorized breakthrough where there had been resistance, protection where there had been vulnerability, healing where there had been pain, and prophetic movement where there had been stagnation. Your obedience did more than change your life. It shifted the atmosphere around you and opened the way for heaven to move through you. Chapter 3. Darkness cannot explain you, but it recognizes you. There are moments when one enters a room without uttering a single word, and yet the atmosphere changes palpably. The air grows thick with tension or wonder, and without any obvious cause, people take notice. Some individuals fall silent, sensing an unspoken presence. Others, for reasons they themselves may not comprehend, become inexplicably irritated or unsettled. Still, there are those who feel compelled, drawn to you with a strange mixture of curiosity, reverence, or even awe. You did not make a grand entrance. You did not proclaim your arrival or demand attention. You simply existed in that space. And yet, something shifted. That shift was not a coincidence, nor was it born of chance. It was not the result of mood or mere perception. No, what occurred was spiritual in nature. It was a recognition, not of your appearance or actions, but of your essence. For even darkness, though it may not fully comprehend you, knows when it is in the presence of the chosen one. The truth is that darkness may not be able to fully explain or comprehend you, but it undoubtedly recognizes exactly who you are. From the moment you genuinely said yes to God and wholeheartedly aligned yourself with your divine purpose, your spirit began to emit a distinct frequency, one that cannot be concealed or ignored. You started walking in a light so radiant and pure that it naturally exposes hidden things, convicts hearts, and confronts falsehood, even when you say nothing at all. This phenomenon is not a result of personal charisma, nor is it due to human charm, physical appearance, eloquence, or even self-assurance. Rather, it is the undeniable glory of God resting upon your life. It is the spiritual residue left behind by your consecration and dedication to Him. It is the visible radiance of your obedience shining forth in the midst of a world overwhelmed by compromise and moral decay. And that very glory, the divine presence that rests upon your life, deeply unsettles the darkness. You unintentionally provoke and agitate spirits that once felt comfortable and at ease within certain individuals. Your mere presence disrupts the atmosphere, making hidden motives and concealed agendas uneasy and nervous. You carry a spiritual energy so potent that it initiates confrontation in the unseen realm, even before you utter a single word. This is the reason why some people unexpectedly begin to distance themselves from you without clear explanation. It is why you may have encountered silent resistance, forced smiles, or subtle forms of opposition that seem out of place. These reactions are not always consciously understood by the individuals themselves, but the spiritual forces influencing them are fully aware. The spirits residing within them instinctively recognize the divine authority and power that resides within you. Demons do not require formal introductions. They do not need names or titles to discern who you are in the spirit. They immediately recognize spiritual authority when they encounter it, and they respond accordingly. When you made the decision to walk in obedience to God's will, you simultaneously stepped into a new level of spiritual rank and authority. In that moment, heaven clothed you with a weighty divine presence, a spiritual mantle that does not require human validation or approval. It is instantly recognized and acknowledged within the realm of the unseen, where spiritual realities transcend the physical. This is precisely why your spiritual warfare intensified the moment your life came into alignment with your divine assignment. Previously, you were simply a target of the enemy, vulnerable but not necessarily threatening. But now you have become a legitimate threat to the kingdom of darkness. Where you were once merely pursued, you are now being closely observed. Your every move is being watched with intent because the spirit realm is fully aware of the authority and power you now carry. The enemy no longer has to speculate about your identity or spiritual stature. Your life is unmistakably marked by divine purpose, and your presence does not go unnoticed. It shifts atmospheres. And no, the attacks you face are not always physical, nor are they always outwardly visible or easily understood. Often they manifest subtly, strategically, and spiritually, because the enemy recognizes your impact even when others do not. This is because your true battle is not a natural one. It is spiritual and territorial in nature. When you engage in prayer, you are not simply speaking words. You are shifting spiritual regions and altering atmospheres. Your very presence carries a divine authority that disrupts environments, even without your intentional effort. Merely by standing firmly in the truth, you expose deception. You become a living confrontation to everything that is unclean, unhealed, and unrighteous. Not due to arrogance or pride, but because of the powerful presence of God dwelling within you. It is that very presence, God's holy presence within you, that agitates everything false and impure around you. Your existence serves as a constant reminder to the enemy that his influence is being dismantled, one obedient vessel at a time. So when people look at you and say, "I don't know what it is, but there's something different about you," or when they lash out at you without any clear reason, or when the atmosphere suddenly feels off or tense, understand this: it is not merely coincidence. It is spiritual recognition. The darkness perceives the light you carry. Demons do not require formal introductions. They do not need names or titles to discern who you are in the spirit. They immediately recognize spiritual authority when they encounter it, and they respond accordingly. When you made the decision to walk in obedience to God's will, you simultaneously stepped into a new level of spiritual rank and authority. In that moment, heaven clothed you with a weighty divine presence, a spiritual mantle that does not require human validation or approval. It is instantly recognized and acknowledged within the realm of the unseen, where spiritual realities transcend the physical. This is precisely why your spiritual warfare intensified the moment your life came into alignment with your divine assignment. Previously, you were simply a target of the enemy, vulnerable but not necessarily threatening. But now you have become a legitimate threat to the kingdom of darkness. Where you were once merely pursued, you are now being closely observed. Your every move is being watched with intent because the spirit realm is fully aware of the authority and power you now carry. The enemy no longer has to speculate about your identity or spiritual stature. Your life is unmistakably marked by divine purpose, and your presence does not go unnoticed. It shifts atmospheres. And no, the attacks you face are not always physical, nor are they always outwardly visible or easily understood. Often they manifest subtly, strategically, and spiritually, because the enemy recognizes your impact even when others do not. This is because your true battle is not a natural one. It is spiritual and territorial in nature. When you engage in prayer, you are not simply speaking words. You are shifting spiritual regions and altering atmospheres. Your very presence carries a divine authority that disrupts environments, even without your intentional effort. Merely by standing firmly in the truth, you expose deception. You become a living confrontation to everything that is unclean, unhealed, and unrighteous. Not due to arrogance or pride, but because of the powerful presence of God dwelling within you. It is that very presence, God's holy presence within you, that agitates everything false and impure around you. Your existence serves as a constant reminder to the enemy that his influence is being dismantled, one obedient vessel at a time. So when people look at you and say, I don't know what it is, but there's something different about you, or when they lash out at you without any clear reason, or when the atmosphere suddenly feels off or tense, understand this: it is not merely coincidence. It is spiritual recognition. The darkness perceives the light you carry. It is important to understand that the opposition you face is not personal. It is positional. It is not about who you are in the natural, but rather about the divine rank and spiritual authority you carry. Your spirit has been armed and empowered with the light of God, and that light functions as a weapon in the realm of the unseen. Even when you remain silent, the forces of darkness recognize and respond to who you are in the spirit. You do not need to raise your voice, boast of your strength, or seek validation to prove your power. Your purity is your power. Your obedience to God carries spiritual weight. Your alignment with heaven's will is your authority. You are a chosen vessel set apart for divine purpose. The reason you often feel misunderstood, frequently opposed, and consistently targeted is because your presence is not passive. You are not merely occupying space. When you enter a room, you shift the atmosphere. Your very existence challenges spiritual stagnation and confronts darkness without a word. And whether people accept you, reject you, ignore you, or completely misunderstand you, know this: the forces of darkness still recognize and respect the heavenly assignment and anointing that rests upon your life. Chapter 4: You are facing struggles that others never had to fight. You are the chosen one. This battle feels different because it is different. You are not dealing with normal problems. You are fighting old battles, breaking unseen barriers, and confronting spiritual forces that have been ignored for generations. You are facing what your parents did not face. You are resisting what your grandparents accepted. You are closing doors that were opened long before you were born. Because of this, the attacks on your life have not been casual. They have been planned carefully. The enemy wanted your family to stay unaware. He wanted the same problems to keep happening. Pain was seen as personality. Problems were treated as normal. Quiet was mistaken for peace. But then you came, and your spirit would not stay still. You were not okay with shallow living. You began to feel the weight. You saw the same problems repeat. You heard a quiet voice say, "It stops with me." Even without all the words, your soul stood up and said, "No more." That no was not just for you. It was a spiritual fight against the pain passed down through your family. You are facing spiritual forces that grew stronger through your family's silence, shame, and survival mindset. That is why the attacks against you feel personal, because they are. You are not just trying to live a better life. You are fighting to create a new future for your family. You are fighting for strong marriages. You are fighting for emotional healing. You are fighting for clear faith, financial freedom, and children who grow up in peace, not pain. Yes, it is tiring. Yes, it feels unfair. Yes, the burden is heavy, but that is because your mission is important and historic. You've been chosen to do what others couldn't. You're here to fight, not just for yourself, but for those before and after you. That's why obedience has felt heavy, your tears have felt meaningful, and your small actions have had a big impact. Every time you forgive instead of staying bitter, you break a curse. When you pray instead of complain, you invite help from heaven. When you choose truth over comfort, you change what once seemed certain. You are rebuilding your family's foundation, which was almost destroyed. Most people won't understand. Some will think you're too serious or too spiritual, but they don't see what you're facing. They don't feel the pressure of being the first to reject dysfunction, to leave toxic patterns, and to believe God's promises are for your family too. Don't mistake spiritual pressure for failure. Resistance doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're on the right path. Every time you obey, you shift your family's future. Every time you fast, break a habit, or reject a lie, you help change your family's legacy. Chapter 5. You were born for spiritual warfare. You are chosen. Your life didn't become spiritual later, it always was. The battles didn't start when you began seeking God. They started early, because your purpose was clear in the spirit world before you understood it. That's why the attacks began in childhood. Why you felt rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or confusion before you could even understand what was happening. The enemy saw your purpose before you did. He knew that if you discovered who you truly are, his control over certain places, families, and patterns would break. Your childhood wasn't random, it was a battle. The trauma wasn't just an experience, it was an attack on your identity. The loneliness wasn't by chance, it was meant to keep you from people who could awaken your calling early. But here's the truth. What seemed like destruction was actually training. You weren't just hurt, you were being strengthened. You weren't just enduring, you were being shaped. God let you feel what others ignored, see what others missed, and survive what others couldn't, so you could carry real discernment, compassion, and authority. You weren't born just to survive. You were born to confront spiritual systems. You were born to break strongholds that have lasted for generations. You were born to reveal the enemy's hidden work in places others ignore. You were born to enter dark places and change the atmosphere without speaking. That's why you've always felt different. That's why you didn't fit into groups where others felt comfortable. That's why some sins affected you more than others. Your spirit wasn't made for compromise. It was made for war. You're not just someone who overcame. You're a disruptor. You're a warrior for your generation. Hell wanted you to stay broken, but heaven planned to heal you and send you back with purpose and power. The battles have been hard. You've asked why it had to be this way. You've cried, felt alone, and almost gave up. But you're still standing, still here, still chosen. That's not weakness, that's strength. Your wounds gave you wisdom. Your pain gave you perspective. Your tests gave you tools. Your suffering gave you a deeper heart. Now, when you pray, things change. When you speak, darkness shakes. When you move, heaven supports you. Your authority didn't come from ease. It came from trials, surrender, and trusting God when all you had was faith and tears. The best part is, God didn't just choose you, He prepared you. He trained you to fight, sharpened your discernment, anointed your voice, protected your heart, and gave you armor designed for the battles you were born to win. Chapter 6. You already have the victory, but the battle teaches you how to use it. The war you're in didn't begin to decide if you'd win. It began because you've already won. The fight has been hard, the attacks have been harsh, the delays have hurt, the loneliness has felt long, but none of it can change what God said about you before you were even born. The crown was already given, the authority was already confirmed, but the battle was necessary to teach you how to carry what was promised. The victory was decided before the fight began. Still, the process was needed, not to break you, but to train you. It was meant to prepare your hands for battle and your heart for wisdom. It was to sharpen your hearing and strengthen your steps. It was to show you what's inside you, not just for peaceful times, but for times of pressure. You're not just going through something, you're becoming someone. You are being shaped through difficulty. You are learning to fight spiritually, not with emotion or quick reactions, but with strategy and wisdom. You're learning to respond, not react, to wait, not worry, to speak with faith, not doubt. God is teaching you about timing, trust, stillness when He speaks, and boldness when He tells you to move. Every battle has taught you something. Every delay has shown you a lesson. Every tear you cried has helped prepare the ground where you will soon see results. This victory is not just for you, it's a sign of hope for others. Your breakthrough will help set others free. People will watch how you handled spiritual battles and learn how to face their own. You are breaking old patterns, walking by faith, and standing strong on the front lines. What God is doing in your life is bigger than just you. Your life is a guide for others who will come after you. You didn't choose the battle, but God chose you for it. You're not just surviving. You're showing what spiritual strength looks like in action. You are proof that favor doesn't always mean life is easy. It means staying steady in chaos, worshiping during struggles, and finding peace under pressure. Chapter 7. This is not the end. It's the start of your awakening as a warrior. You are chosen. Don't misunderstand the pressure you've been feeling. This is not your breaking point. It's your turning point. The battle isn't over. It's the start of your next level. You're not falling apart. You're becoming who you were meant to be. Everything you went through, the pain, the silence, the rejection, the battles, was preparing you for this moment. Nothing was wasted. Every attack showed that something strong was growing inside you. The enemy wasn't fighting your past. He was afraid of your future. This is not the end. It's a new beginning. You are rising as a warrior who knows how to endure, fight without hate, and lead without pride. This is the time when your secret struggles will become stories that help others. What almost broke you is now the foundation God is building on. You're not just healing, you're being revealed. You're not just stronger, you're wiser. You're not just surviving, you now have the tools to help others. The battles didn't come to destroy you, they came to show your strength. They made your prayers deeper, sharpened your discernment, and prepared you for blessings you didn't know were coming. You weren't made to fit in. You were born to break old patterns, speak up, and carry spiritual strength where others can't. That's why your journey was harder and longer. That's why even your quiet words have power. You're not who you used to be. You've become the person the enemy hoped you'd never become. Now you walk with quiet boldness that can't be ignored. This is the time to stop explaining your journey to people who didn't go through the fire with you. Stop hiding your light to make others feel comfortable. This is the time to fully and boldly accept your calling. God is showing the world who you are, not for your praise, but because people need your voice and your obedience. Your story will help others break free from what you've already overcome. Don't question your strength just because you still feel pain. Even healed warriors remember how their wounds felt. Don't doubt your calling just because others don't cheer. Heaven has already confirmed it. Don't hold back just because the place feels new. Your gift made room for you. And this is the rise of a warrior, prepared, refined, and ready. You were tested quietly and trained through pain, but now you rise in victory. Every realm will see it, not because you pushed for attention, but because God is revealing you. You are awake now, and the spiritual world will never be the same. And if you're still hungry for more chapters to this journey, or a visual concept for a video or thumbnail, just say the word. I'm here and ready to help bring it all to life. Thanks for watching. Here ends this video. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe if you find this video interesting.